We're on air. 9:29. I want to make sure everybody turns their phones off, please. That's the most important thing we need done at this point in time. And I'm going to call the meeting to order. We obviously have a quorum because every seat is filled. And Director Addington, would you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Ready, begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible.
I want to acknowledge the media. Thank you for joining us. We appreciate Eileen being here. I would like a motion to approve the agenda if possible. Manuel and Carl seconded. Is there any discussion? Okay, let's vote.
Just without objection.
Let's do it without objection. We're fine with that. Okay, approval of the meeting minutes. May I have a motion on that?
I make a motion.
I'll second that.
Okay. Is there any vote needed on this? Is there any discussion?
Discussion, I have
Okay, Juanita, please.
I just have asked that in the minutes of each of the meetings, rather than just say that Director Armandani gave an update on the member comments from the last minute meeting, that we include those in here, because it's why she's giving it, so that we can publicize those. So we've asked that those be given to the corporate secretary and included in the minutes.
I recently had taken the online course of a board education leadership class, and it specifically stated that those details should not be included in there. Only the decisions need to be included in there. That's the specific stated that. So let's, maybe ask the legal counsel on that. Thank you.
It is not a report, it is a report, and it's okay to be on these minutes because it is given in the open meeting, so therefore it is. I now see that the media has joined us, and I want to make her welcome here. Thank you for coming. And we're now on, and I've placed my report of the chair, so I'll go ahead and do it from my memory. I'm very concerned about the cost that we are having in compliance. A compliance issue costs us approximately $270 when a phone call is made, and over $300 when they have to write a report. And I would like to see us be much more kind and gentler and talk to our neighbors about the issues instead of calling compliance. I know it's wonderful to have somebody else take care of all the problems, but it is costing us a great deal of money to call in and have others take care of the problems. So we are a cooperative. We should be cooperative with each other, speak to each other kindly and softly, and try to take care of the problems that you have with your neighbor instead of calling compliance. If you have a grudge or whatever it is, please speak to your neighbor in a kind and fine way, and maybe we can solve these problems. We want to make this paradise, and so no one has a complaint. Also, in the next months, we're going to be working on the budget and worrying about, and I want to make sure everybody knows where their fees are going. And we are going to put together different displays on how your fees are being spent, what it would cost you in the neighboring area for these exact same services, so you understand how your assessment and your reserve funds are being spent, and will have a better feel for why, if we have to raise the fees, we will have a reason why we're raising them. Thank you, everybody, for coming today, and we will go on to the open forum now.
Chris Collins.
The work of the Foundation of Laguna Woods Village on behalf of residents experiencing temporary financial crisis. The Foundation's mission is Neighbors Helping Neighbors. And to that end, I'm here to report to you that our support to qualified residents who needed help increased by 25% during 2019. We actually spent a bit more than $300,000 assisting residents with temporary financial crisis last year. This is only made possible through ongoing donations from many generous individuals and clubs within the village here. Please remember, the Foundation of Laguna Woods is the organization whose whole sole mission is to assist people with temporary crises. Please know that the ongoing policy of the Foundation does not include paying homeowners association fees. Our mission is to assist individuals in providing for temporary crises. Thank you, thank you, thank you for your continuing financial support of the mission of the Foundation of Laguna Woods Village. Thank you.
That concludes our speakers.
Quiet day. No, you can't go to the podium, but you can speak from your seat, please.
India Club is starting something like a helping hand for anybody who needs assistance in the village. What we have is like 17 or 18 volunteers who will visit them and even take some small food items or stuff and spend time with them, because a lot of people, when they are non-ambulatory, need some support, and that's what we'll be offering. It's no cost to them, no cost to us, and there's no liabilities involved. So anybody who wants any assistance, who live in the village, wants any assistance, can call me or leave a message on my cell phone, which is 949-217-1950, or email me at cash334@gmail.com. Again, it's cash334@gmail.com, and the phone is 949-217-1950. Anybody who needs assistance, please leave a message or call. Thanks.
Okay, Nada, would you give us the response to last week's questions, please?
Sure. Yeah. Okay, 8 residents commented in the open meeting, and one of the residents, Monica Zong, 5250, expressed need for more EV, electrical vehicle, charging station in community. Vice President Randazzo indicated Ms. Zong attended in January 10th Village Energy Task Force meeting regarding this topic. Vice President explained that Telsa vehicle require adapter to charge at the EV charger behind community center. Vehicle owner can purchase adapter and charge, and VETF, it means that Village Energy Task Force, explored having adapters available for use at the concierge desk, but there is no way to prevent theft of units. Maxim McIntosh, 68C, expressed benefits of conducting a survey of United Mutual residents, recommended review of tips and tools for surveys. CEO Parker explained that VMS, GRF, Third and United boards are discussing possibility of survey. Elizabeth Kammerer, 58D, expressed concern about transient issues near her unit and security response to recent incident. Request cleanup of her corner lot. Chief Moy immediately discussed incident with Ms. Kammerer and apologized on behalf of security department for what she felt to be poor response on call for service. Chief Moy reassured her that any type of trespassing is very serious and all calls involving a possible homeless person is a priority with multiple officers responding. Chief Moy explained very strict procedure followed when responding. When encountering individuals who don't have a pass to be in village. Chief Moy also invited Ms. Kammerer to next Security and Community Access Committee and provided his contact information in event she has any future concerns. Landscape Department Supervisor met with residents on January 16, 2020. Landscape Department addressed concern on January 20, which include weeds and turf overseeding. Dick Rader, 270D, desire to have a 1:1 ratio of tree removal to tree replanting. Suggesting is that when a tree is removed, Landscape Department is required to plant trees somewhere in village. And the CEO Parker sent Mr. Rader copy of response prepared for Mr. Beckett. There is no tree replacement policy, but Landscape Department typically replants at rate close 2:1. For every 2 trees removed, 1 is replaced. General makeup of the village is too many trees. Most were planted 30 to 50 years ago and are too large to be as close to building and other trees as they are. When Landscape Department remove individual trees for illness or other reason, 1 replacement tree is generally planted in the surrounded area. Nancy Lennon, 669N, expressed concern about January 3, 2020. This day episode that indicated board members may be responsible for signing sales and lease package to staff. This topic was reviewed on January 16, 2020 by Governing Documents Committee meeting and will not be moving forward at this time. Thank you.
Thank you. We will go ahead now with the VMS report with Dick Rader, please.
Good morning. The VMS staff, along with all the boards, are diligently trying to rein in costs. One example I'd like to cite is Jeff Harper, our CEO, has transferred tree trimmers to landscaping duties. In doing this, he was able to assign tree trimming to an outside company that is able to do the work at a much lower cost. The ability to create savings is not limited to staff alone. We as residents can participate as well. VMS receives innumerable phone calls each month to obtain gate clearance for guests or vendors. If you consider that we have over 12,000 manners and we get 1 phone call a month from each one, you can get an idea of the dimensions of the problem. If as many of us as possible took advantage of the very easy way to sign in guests using our Dwelling Live software on our website, Instead of phoning in requests, we would save a significant amount of money. Media and Communications will be offering a program to help more residents use this method to sign in visitors. The VMS Board has completed its annual review of our CEO, which included input from employees and all the boards. One of the major suggestions was to give residents more opportunity to interact with our CEO. As a result, a series of meetings have been established to accomplish these goals. These meetings will also provide an opportunity to get our questions answered and to offer any suggestions we may have. It will also allow residents to become familiar with village operations and current issues. Here's a list of the meetings that are upcoming. You'll notice that they are on Wednesdays at 10 a.m. Additional dates and topics will be announced. In order to allow maximum interaction between staff and residents, it was decided to have a number of smaller gatherings rather than one huge meeting. Since the meeting space is limited, it would be helpful to spread your attendance out rather than everyone coming to the same meeting all at once. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, go ahead.
I understand that the VMS is taking on a major task of KPI. Any progress on the KPI? Any insight as far as what kind of help they need from the United side that need to provide any information at this point?
That is a subcommittee of the VMS. And when their work is completed, they intend to come with a full report at that time.
Dorothy, would you like to comment on that, please?
What we're doing on the committee, Andre, is we're going through all the projects one by one. And many of them are either complete or in the process of being complete. So what we're trying to do is finish that list for you. And what he's referring to is that you'll get the complete picture of where we're at one by one. And I thank you for your offer. And if in fact we have any questions or need some guidance on that direction, we'll come to you and the board just to make sure we have your input. But to date, we've not had any of those requirements. But again, we thank you for your offer, and we will definitely come to you.
Thank you very much, Dorothy. I don't mean to put you on the hot spot. All right, Jeff Parker, would you give us the update from the CEO, please?
Madam President, members of the board, good morning. I have two updates I wanted to give you. As you know, Tim Moy announced that he was going to retire, and we started the recruitment for the security director position. Last Friday, our first panel met, panel made up of members from each of the mutuals and representations from VMS and VMS staff. Met with the original 6 candidates, narrowed it down to 3. Yesterday, I met with all of those 3 candidates, and then I had those 3 candidates also meet the rest of the department heads and go around table with that. We're doing the final background checks and making that process go forward, but I'm hoping that in the next couple of days we'll have an announcement of our new security director. Very good candidate group. I thought the recruiter did a really good job. I don't think we can go wrong with any of the final 3 candidates that the panel recommended to me. So as soon as we can get that done, we'll report it out to you. The second thing I wanted to mention was, and this is a big one for us, the Village Breeze. This is the new document that we've been talking about and spreading the word. This is our 66-page Village Breeze document that is just about ready to go. Anticipated getting out into the community. As I indicated before, it's going to be mailed to every resident out there. By the end of the month, we will have it out to everybody. So we're real excited about that. I wanted to again mention that this is a document that's we wanted to get out more information to our residents out there. We realize that there are over 2,700 residents that don't have the internet. So when we send out a blast on the internet, we don't reach everybody. So that's potentially as many as 6,000, almost 6,000 people. We wanted to come up with a mechanism to continue our enhancement of our media and communication operations and getting information out there with regards to our programs, our landscaping, our general services, our finance, recreation, all of those activities, and what's going on in the village, providing updates from the board of directors on the mutuals. It's important to get that information out there. And luckily, through leadership of Eileen, Paul, and taking over the media and communications, we were able to work with Memorial Care to be a key sponsor. This is a $140,000 commitment by Memorial Care to be the key sponsor on this. So there's no hard costs on us, on the village, to produce this thing. We've got a 3-year commitment, so that's a really nice agreement with them. Again, we're going to distribute to everybody, plus we'll have distribution over to the 22 medical sites throughout Orange County so that we can kind of advertise the village and get potential new residents. Relative to the content in here, I wanted to mention that the editorial advisory board for this is comprised of the GRF Media and Communications Committee members and its advisors, the presidents from 3rd United GRF and VMS Board of Directors, and then the Media and Communication Department staff. So there's a lot of eyes on this document before it goes out, so I think we're going to be doing good by the residents when they see this document. Also wanted to mention, finally, that in here is a new village map that we put together, which is a little bit clearer than the other village map that we've used for a long time. So big font, nice, easy to read, a lot of communications. But one of the things it does in the way of saving us money going forward too is that we're going to have our class schedules, recreation events in this document. So there's a lot of documents that we're not going to produce over and over and over in different departments. Going to bring that consolidation into this, and it's going to save us printing money, and information is going to be consolidated in one place, so people don't have to go looking 2 or 3 different places to find information that they're looking for. So I'm very pleased that this is going to be out there by the end of the month, and all of you should look forward to seeing it. So that's all I have for today, and then I'll turn it over to Siobhan. She has a few things.
Honorable President, members of the board, I have a few updates this morning. As Director Rader stole my thunder, I was going to announce the village visit for tomorrow. That's going to be at 10 o'clock in the Clubhouse 1 main lounge, so we encourage everyone to come by and learn more about village operations, meet your management staff, and share your thoughts on current topics in the village. The community center fitness hours are changing. Effective Saturday, February 15th, the new hours will be Monday through Friday from 5:30 a.m. to 8 p.m. and Saturday and Sunday from 7 a.m. to 2 p.m. And we're proud of this change because it was requested by our residents, and it's an example of how we are able to be responsive to the needs of our residents. Everybody in the village should have received information about the primary that is coming up on March 3rd. The primary election has new voting procedures this year, and just want to make sure everyone is aware of that. All registered voters should have received a mail-in ballot by now. They were mailed February 3rd. Ballots may now be returned by mail, no postage necessary, deposited in a box at any vote center, or dropped off at a vote center without a ballot box. The 11-day vote center that is closest to here is at Laguna Woods City Hall. This is open from February 22nd to March 3rd. And then there is also a 4-day vote center at Clubhouse 7, and this will be open from February 29th to March 3rd. And then if you prefer to vote in person, there are 188 vote centers throughout Orange County. Voters are no longer required to visit a particular precinct. And so if you want to get a list of the vote centers and hours, visit ocvote.com. Again, that's ocvote.com. And hopefully everyone will be ready for the upcoming primary election. And then lastly, next Monday, February 17th, the village observes President's Day. And as such, there are some closures that I want everyone to be aware of. The community center, the recreation office, the PC and Mac learning centers, Clubhouse 4, the library, and the equestrian center will be closed. Open from 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. will be the community center fitness center, the Clubhouse 1 fitness center, and the table tennis room. Resident services call center will be open from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m., and the walk-in service will be closed on that day. The transportation services, golf courses, garden centers, and restaurant 19 will have regular hours next Monday. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Shaban, is it not correct that bulk pickup is this Saturday? I think it's the 15th.
If it's the third Saturday? Yes. Yes.
Okay, because I have something to put out, so I figured maybe other people might have something to put out.
And please remember to call resident services before you place out your items so they're aware that you have something to be picked up.
Okay, thank you for that.
Okay, we're on to the consent calendar. Do I have a motion to accept the consent calendar? Netta, is there a second?
A second.
Carl. Okay, is there any discussion? Go ahead, Manny.
Thank you, Madam Chair. As I've reported before, in practically this past year, I will not vote in favor of this because we still aren't in conformance with the requirements of the Davis-Sterling Act. And this afternoon at the closed session, I will be presenting further information on other areas that we are not compliant with the Davis-Sterling Act. So that's all I can say at this moment.
Any other people would like to discuss this?
Madam Chair, so are we trying to take this off the consent calendar? Is that what we're trying to do?
He's just commenting on how he's going to vote. Anybody else want to make a comment? All right, let's take a vote. We need the voting screen, please. It passes with 8 votes, 1 no, and 2 abstaining. Thank you. We move on to unfinished business. We have a motion to adopt a resolution for species-based tree trimming. Manuel, will you give us a reading of what that was, please?
Thank you, Madam Chair. In January, we did the initial approval of this resolution, which was to change from the trimming cycle that was used up until that time, which was a 34-month cycle. We are now changing to a 5-year species-based trimming cycle, which will be much more effective and will, believe it or not, be more cost-effective. The reason why this will be more effective and economical is that we have over 15,000 trees just in United, and over 230 different species, and they don't all require this trimming at the same time. There's some that require trimming at the end of a year, some at 2, some as long as once every 5 years. So this is the final resolution to be passed to adopt that policy. And the bottom part of the resolution will state that, now therefore be it resolved that February 11th, 2020, that the Board of Directors hereby adopts a species-based trimming cycle attached to the official meeting minutes. And that statement lists every one of those species as well as a quantity by species that are going to be trimmed over the next 5 years. Resolve further that the officers and agents of this corporation are hereby authorized on behalf of the corporation to carry out this resolution as written.
Is there a second, please? Andre will take you.
I have a question.
What?
I have a comment.
Go ahead.
Like last month, when we addressed this, I had a question and it got answered, and I just want to reiterate the fact that it's my understanding that the species-based tree trimming does not preclude the fact that landscaping, when asked, will trim trees in and around street lights, whereby they basically obstruct the light in the street, and for the solar plant. So that this species is basically the big picture, okay, but the small picture is the fact that if there's obstructions by trees as a result of street lights or the solar plant, those will be trimmed. And you said yes last time, so I just wanted to make sure that everybody understood that.
Is there any other discussion, please? Go ahead, Manuel.
Yeah, I'd like to clarify a couple of things too for the members out there. And that's that if you feel a tree poses some kind of a problem as far as your foundation or sidewalks or whatever, you can submit a request to landscaping department to remove that tree. We have gotten those requests over the past 5 years that have continued to grow. And up until this year, we were very hesitant to remove trees. We would only remove them if they were diseased or presented a real problem. We've now been able to convince landscape department that there are other good reasons to remove the trees, and so we've been a little more aggressive on removing trees. Dick Rader expressed a concern that we should replace each of these trees. We do when it's warranted, but there's a lot of times we have an overplanting of trees throughout the community. So we are trying to weed that out. So that will fit in with this program. That's not stated in the resolution, but that is a practice that's being currently followed. Thank you.
Is there any other person that would like to comment on this? Can we have a voting screen, please? It passes unanimously. We're going on to...
One abstention.
Oh, one abstention. I'm sorry, Nancy. Okay, we're moving on to new business. Can I entertain a motion to approve the Director's Code of Conduct? Cash, is there a second? Netta, is there discussion? Manuel.
Thank you, Madam Chair. In reviewing this policy, first of all, there needs to be a correction of pages 9 through 14 of the 16 pages are a duplication of the preceding 6 pages. And the numbering, they should be eliminated, pages 9 through 15 should be eliminated. And then the numbering should follow to be, they should all be changed to pages of 10. There's 10 complete pages now. And 15 of 16 will be 9 of 10, and the back of it will be 10 of 10. Okay? If you look at the package, you will see that those are duplication. What? And the other part is that I want to send this back to committee because I have trouble with the language on page 5 of 10 dealing with the legal issues. I'm in the process of analyzing the legal bills, and I think we have a situation here where we need some different policies on reviewing of legal bills and who can authorize the legal services. So I'd like to send this back to committee to have this reviewed. And the clause that I am having trouble with is at the top of page 5. Legal issues must be advised from United board members to the president, who will advise United legal counsel. And as direction is provided from legal counsel, the president will so advise the board. So I've seen situations where staff, VMS staff, is just contacting the attorney directly without any involvement by any board members. Again, I'm concerned that we should have maybe a stricter policy and procedure on who can authorize those charges. So that's, my proposal is that we consider sending this back to committee. So, do I have a second on that?
Second on
Madam
that.
Chair, is that a motion to
I-
refer?
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion that we send this resolution to approve the Director's Code of Conduct back to committee.
You already have a motion on the floor.
What?
Can you make it? You can make a motion to table it, or you can, what else?
Well, you can make a motion, I don't know if there is a previous motion, but you can make a motion to refer or go back to the previous motion, whatever that is. Is that,
Previous motion was to approve.
Okay.
all right, well, so he can amend that motion if he wishes.
Well, I'd like to amend that motion to
Right,
send
you
this
can
issue
amend-
back to committee.
Okay, and it is amended by, okay. Is there discussion?
I have a question. Okay, I'm a little bit confused about this, this agenda item. Which committee does it come from?
It came out of the
Governing document.
closed meeting. It didn't come from committee.
Okay, because I'm the chair of a governing doc committee. I don't remember we have a, it's on the agenda item of governing doc. I think it's supposed to be coming from governing doc. So I'm a little bit confused as where does it come from?
Okay.
Does it just come from the blue? And I understand it was the past, but then if we are trying to approve for this year and make a new announcement, what has been changed and what's in there? Okay,
Okay.
I don't remember going through any review process of this one.
All right, let's go ahead and vote on whether it should be sent back to committee. Cash, go ahead.
About page 5, top paragraph, I think we went through this several times, and this is issued strictly for the directors of the United Board. Has nothing to do with VMS like you're talking about. It's a different organization. So I think the motion he is making is invalid.
Manny?
Okay. My resolution is to amend the present one that's subject to a vote, to send this back to wherever it arose, whether it was a closed session or in some committee, because as I stated before, I have been reviewing legal bills, and our legal costs are out of control. And right now, we do not really have a procedure whereby the board has an opportunity to approve all these expenditures. Staff is contacting legal counsel directly for any number of things, and we have no knowledge of it. So this needs to be
Okay.
sent back to reconsider this wording as well as the whole issue.
Carl?
I have to agree with Cash. This is a director's code of conduct, and with regard to this particular thing, it says that as directors, we have no right to go to a lawyer directly. We have to go to the president. And that's one funnel that we have to abide by. And as far as the other people are concerned, the president can specifically tell Jeff and whomever else, cease and desist, because all the things need to go through the president. And that not only applies to us, but it applies to whomever else, okay? And I know that in certain cases, when Jeff has asked me about various different things, saying, well, you know, can I go talk to the lawyer and what have you? And we talked to Sue, and she said yes or no, as the case may be. So at this particular point in time, if there are things happening with VMS going directly to our attorney, it has nothing to do with our director's code of conduct. It has our association with VMS. As far as this is concerned, this says that the director cannot go to the lawyer directly. He's got to go through the president. And I see nothing that specifically indicated in these words that is counter to what you said.
Andre, did you have something you wanted to say?
Well, I can see that Cash and Carl's point of view, but I'm seeing that we probably need to make it clear that VMS is not authorized to go to our legal counsel, spend our bill without our permission. So somewhere it has to be stated in there. And I think we need to clarify that before we give the okay.
That is not something that would be in the code of conduct for a director. So let's go ahead and vote on the amendment. Please bring up, oh, excuse me, Juanita, go ahead.
To Manuel's point, there are two versions in here. The first one is a clean copy. The second one that starts on page 9 is in effect a red line. It shows with the little marks in the left-hand margin where changes have been made. And we're always asked what changes were made, where we go. So that's why there are two copies of this in here.
Can we have a vote screen on the amendment unless?
Sorry, I don't have a red mark version. I don't understand.
It's not red, it's a black mark in the left-hand margin. We didn't print these in color.
Okay, we are going to vote on the amendment. Please vote. On the amendment. Entertain it to send it back to closed session. Who's missing? Okay. It will be sent back to closed session. Question? That's where this was started. I'm sorry that it didn't come out. We can send it back to.
Discuss it in Gov Docs.
Okay, so we'll send it back to the Governing Docs Committee.
Governing
Okay?
docs, we discussed it with the charter
The
of
charter
governing
of
docs,
governing docs.
not the code of conduct.
The code of conduct was done in the closed meeting.
Point of order, excuse me, Juanita was speaking out of turn.
Okay,
Let's
please
get back.
speak. Thank you. Thank you for your, we discussed the charter, which had the same phrase in it in the governing docs. This was discussed it was not discussed in governing docs because it is not part of the governing documents. It was discussed in closed session, and we will discuss it this afternoon in closed session if we have time. Thank you. Moving on. We're now ready for committee. We're now ready for committee reports. We will start with the finance. Brian, would you please give us the financial report?
Yes, the Finance Committee met on January 28th, 2020. Next meeting is March 31st, 2020 at 1:30 in the Sycamore Room. What you see up on the screen, I want to accentuate that it's a preliminary as of December 31st, 2019, because it's still subject to the audit. This is the income statement, and it shows a net expense of just over $4 million. Next slide. This is an operating-only budget, and it excludes unrealized gains and depreciation, and shows an operating deficit of just over $500,000. Moving on to the next page, we'll show more detail into some of this in just a little bit. This is a comparison of the actual budget and the proposed budget and the variance. A lot of the variance is due to moisture intrusion during the past year, sewer remediation, and other things like that, and I'll show that next. This is the positives, favorable and unfavorable chart. There was a favorable due to unfilled positions, favorable of fees charged to residents for services, and income investment. There was unfavorable on outside services, and again, this was moisture intrusion, additional water heaters, which were approved later in last fiscal year, and the gain loss on sale. This was asset retirement and future allocation due to asbestos remediation. as well as showing unfavorable around insurance. Going on to the pie chart, where does our total non-assessment revenues come from? This shows the breakdown on that. Interest income, fees and charges, laundry, and then an assortment of other assessment sources for just under $2 million. Moving on to the next slide is our total expenses. And I have a slide coming out which removes property and sales taxes because that's kind of a pass-through. But one of the things I asked to be included in this was the breakout of the utilities. And in the context of our entire budget, it's 10%. But, you know, if you look at water, for example, and if we reduce that down by 10%, that is actual dollars every month to the residences and savings. So this is a place where we could save money. You know, I've seen garden hoses out there running, stuff like that. And a lot of this is resident water usage, not irrigation usage. So just want to highlight that. It's an opportunity for every member to participate in saving cost. Grant, next slide, please. This is a breakout of the same thing without the property and sales taxes. And, you know, of course, utilities move up to 12%, and that's probably more reflective, or that is more reflective of what the breakout are, because taxes and property taxes are pass-through. But that's for your information there. Moving on. This is non-operating fund balances showing the contingency and reserve fund. And just a couple comments here is we did draw down on the contingency fund. There is no legal requirement to have that, but that is where it's at. And the reserve fund, this is going per the 2019-2020 business plan that was developed last year. In a graphical historical form is next slide. And again, in your paper documents, there might be an average line, but that's a little bit confusing because this is per the plan that we developed. And it shows historically what's going on with the fund balances. Grant, next slide. This is the resale history, and they were nice enough to put some of the totals there. In 2019, 366 units were sold through the year, which was an improvement over 2018 with 345. And it looks like this year is off to a good start as well. That concludes the slides. What I want to do is just conclude that the GRF Finance Committee, or that's for later. Okay. That concludes my comments. Thank you.
Juanita, please. Juanita.
I'd like to refer to page 7 of 8 in the agenda package and note that our leasing percentage is now up to 9.7. We are pushing on 10%. It has never been this large. We have 615 of our units that are subleased.
Okay, Elsie, would you give the architecture controls?
Yes, ma'am. The meeting was held on January 16th, 2020. A committee member had invited a contractor to address the committee about his experiences working in Laguna Woods Village and the problems he has encountered. A lively discussion ensued regarding whether the alterations staff is over-conservative in the interpretation of the Cal OSHA asbestos regulations, or rather that they are in line with the intent of the law to protect the health and safety of the community and staff, as well as to limit the exposure of the mutual. Some members expressed a dissatisfaction with the asbestos abatement procedures generally. The committee also discussed the ongoing efforts by VMS executives to iron out a plan with the City of Laguna Woods whereby, among other actions, the city will coordinate with village staff to smooth the permit process by means of pre-approved standard plans and help to facilitate shorter wait times for the resident applicants. The next meeting will be on February the 20th, 2020. Thank you.
Juanita, would you give us the Communication Committee report?
Communication Committee report basically has been given by our CEO. The big communication news is the magazine that's coming out later this month. Quite frankly, the Communications Committee has been very little involved in that. It has been done by staff. We are looking at what we want to include in the next magazine, and our committee is looking at a couple of articles for that. But otherwise, we do not have a report.
Anthony, would you give the report for the Member Hearings Committee, please?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Little disclaimer here for the residents at home. Due to the nature and sensitivity of the matters discussed in compliance with Davis Sterling and set out in the 2020 Condominium Blue Book, the meeting is closed. Committee members Nada Adrani, Juanita Skillman, Andre Tong, along with were present. Also, Elsie Addington from Architectural. Due to staff's energy and attention to detail, the committee dealt with 8 delinquency counts, 5 common area damage cases, and 6 disciplinary cases. Staff also briefed the committee with updates on pending cases. And that's the extent of my report, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. Andre, would you give governing docs, please?
Thanks, Madam Chair. The Governing Document Review Committee met on January 16th. It was a packed meeting. Thanks to many residents that are interested in the agenda items. First, we reviewed the election rules changes based on Senate bill changes. There were many issues and discrepancies. The committee decided it's best to send the changes back to the legal counsel to further clean up the issues brought to us. This coming meeting on February 20th, we will have a cleaner version to review. And I would like to remind all the participants during the meeting, please give me your comments about these election rules. We want to give the legal counsel some time to prepare for the changes or review. We also discussed delegating some board directors' responsibility to staff. The idea is so board directors can spend more time on the directions and leave executions to staff to complete. However, because some believe the staff may abuse the power and these functions are too important to leave to the staff completely, the committee voted to stay reviewing staff's recommendation. Okay. Also, the committee also determined that the operating rules should be reorganized to make it easier for the residents and anybody interested in to find related information. 2 groups are established to expedite this process. Juanita and I are leading either groups. We look to complete the review under 6 months. It looks like we will meet that goal easily. Our next meeting is scheduled on Thursday, February 20th, 1:30 in the Sigma Room, and I look forward to more people to join us interested in making this community a better place with governing documents. Thank you very much.
Manuel, would you give the landscape report, please?
Thank you, Madam Chair. The last meeting was held on December 12th, 2019, and I reported on that in January, but I will mention 2 of the main items that were covered. We covered a change in the Yellow Stake program, where now we still have the program. However, if you want to take advantage of that availability, you must submit a request to landscaping, which then, if they approve it, needs to be approved by the board. And the reason for this is because there were too many abuses occurring with the program, and we feel this will provide the documentation to make sure that the members out there are in compliance with the program, with the policy. The other major thing that was presented was the change from a 34-month cycle to a 5-year species-based trimming of trees. The next meeting will be held this Thursday, February 13th, at 9:30 in this room. And I invite all the members out there that have any concerns with the landscaping or any problems, please come to the meetings. And I must remind you, however, you should have already submitted a request to landscaping that either didn't produce the results you wanted or you still have some concerns. You really shouldn't come to the meeting for the purpose of reporting something that you haven't previously reported. Okay, thank you.
Carl, would you do the M&C, please?
Thank you, Madam Chair. The last MNC meeting was held on October 23rd, and on the last board meeting, I reported on that meeting. The next United MNC meeting is scheduled for February 20th at 9 a.m. in the boardroom. At that meeting, we will discuss the next step that our electrical consultant will be taking with regard to the review of our electrical infrastructure. We will also be discussing issues regarding a renewed handyman program. And we will also be reviewing all of the reports. All the residents are invited. Please come and get involved. Thank you.
Carl has been working on the residents' requests that are over 90 days that are still in the system, and we're trying to figure out what is delaying the closure of these requests as well. Okay, Cash Handyman Program.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The United Handyman Program has been revitalized and will roll out in 2020 in phases. The first phase addresses the light-duty handyman services that are not technical in nature, and a company that we have noticed has performed services for other residents in community in the past has worked with our social services in the village. Their name is Neighboring, and this service is currently available. Residents do not have to use Neighboring services. All residents have the prerogative to employ whoever they choose to perform chores. However, the Handyman Task Force and the United Board have reviewed the work that has been done by Neighboring and found that based on their past performance, they have provided a very good service. As noted above, calls have to be made directly to Neighboring. All transactions are made with Neighboring. Residents should not be contacted, resident services should not be contacted for any of these tasks. Please also note that both residents and Neighboring are releasing the United Laguna Woods Mutual of liability regarding any services provided by Neighboring. They are just another handyman, and they only will do light handyman chores. No painting, external painting, no carpentry, no electric, and no plumbing, because these require trained people. These people coming through Neighboring are college students who are hungry for supporting their own education. So only small chores, please. And please contact Neighboring for your chores. And there's a flyer being circulated. You'll find them in many rooms, meetings, etc., and hand carried to you and laundry rooms in United. Please, the back side of the flyer will show what is involved in how to proceed, a number, etc. The next phase is going to start discussions starting tomorrow, which is Wednesday the 12th, in Sycamore Room at 2 o'clock, and you're welcome to attend, but really there's nothing much we can give you at that time other than maybe give you some of these flyers. Thank you very much. That's where we are.
We are not responsible for the misspellings on the flyer. I want to make sure everybody's aware of that. We will get that corrected, but there are definitely misspellings on the flyer, and we are not responsible.
One last thing. United has zero cost involved in this effort. It's strictly been done on a volunteer basis from our side, and we are just showing that here's the information available to you. Here's a company that will do a good job at much lower rates, like $25 per hour. Thank you.
Okay, Nada, would you give the Residents Advisory Committee report?
United Resident Advisory Committee is honored to serve the members concerned. Please bring issues, problem, or suggestion to the staff and committee. There is no speaking limit time. Residents are allowed to fully express their issues. The committee met with few residents on January 16 to discuss their problems and concerns. Our next meeting will be on February 13 at 4 o'clock in Sycamore Room. Please share your concern and solution with us. Thank you.
Okay, we're going to move on to the GRF committee highlights. Brian, would you give us the financial report now?
Yes, there was a meeting held on December 18th, 2019, and the next meeting is scheduled for February 19th, 2020, 1:30 in the boardroom. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I guess you're on, Juanita, with the CAC committee.
Community Activities Committee met on Thursday, January 9th, and a number of things were discussed. We had a report from Recreation and the Special Events Director on all of the things that had been done in 2019, a kind of a catch-up report, summary of all of the things that had been gone through Recreation at that time. We also looked at an equestrian center pricing policy, and it was discussed, but an ad hoc committee on the equestrian was voted on and established, and so no decisions were made on that until we get the report back from that ad hoc committee. There was a concern that the clubhouse operating rules signs had been taken down because there were two things on it in red regarding anti-harassment that people objected to. So the signs will take those out, and then the regular operating rules signs will go back up in the facilities. The Community Activities Committee charter was discussed and passed unanimously. The fitness center hours of operation, as was mentioned earlier, were changed to address people who wanted to get in there a little earlier. The ad hoc committee was set up. Blackout shades for Clubhouse 1 was discussed, and staff was directed to look at the installation of new blinds in Clubhouse 1 when it is renovated. The Clubhouse holiday hours were discussed, and a staff report was presented on the usage for the last 2 years. Off-season children's swim hours were also adjusted, and they were looking at staff doing a survey of the swimmers only, not the general public, but those who actually used the pools. Items for future agenda, and our next meeting will be coming up March 12th here in the boardroom. We only meet every other month. But some of the things that we will be reviewing are service levels and projected revenue related to the Recreation Department, review of the existing Recreation Department rules and policies, a review of the community facilities utilization. Club Showcase is coming up in May 2020. This used to be called the Expo, and it's where all the clubs and organizations can have a table and people can go and find out what all of the things are that are available here in the village. It's a super event. It'll be over in Clubhouse 5. We had an update on recreation club meetings, and Director Carpenter stated she wanted to attend the club president's meeting. The club president's meeting is held on February 20th at Clubhouse 5, where all the presidents of the different clubs get together and discuss concerns, things that are working, things that aren't, et cetera. One of the big items of discussion was the fireworks show for July the 4th at Clubhouse 2, and its effect on the horses at the Equestrian Center, particularly, although they also brought up its effect on some of the other animals here in the village. And so staff was directed to research alternatives or different launch locations that would not affect the animals. So again, the next meeting is March 12th, 2020, here in the boardroom.
If there is anybody in the village who would like to serve on the ad hoc equestrian committee, please get in touch with me. Our directors here are pretty loaded, and we're looking to put people on that committee, but I'm not ready to apply a director if there is somebody. I don't believe any of our directors ride horses, so I'm looking at if there are people in United who have a buy-in to this, please let me know, and we will put you on that committee. Thank you. All right, we're ready for landscape, Manuel.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The last GRF Landscape Committee meeting was held in December, and a reminder again is that these committees are only meeting every other month. So in many cases, we will be reporting on the something we'd already reported in the previous month, which we did with this committee. The main item that was discussed there, of course, was the work that had been done on cleaning up the creek. And here I have to commend Landscape Department for a great job that they did. And they are planning to continue making improvements in that area. They also completed the survey of the creek area so that the department could more readily determine who is responsible for what section of that area. Some residents don't recognize that GRF owns the creek area. So they're responsible for the maintenance of the creek, whereas outside of either boundary, that's United. So that was accomplished. Our next meeting will be February 12th, which is tomorrow at 1:30 p.m., again in the boardroom, in this room. Thank you.
Okay, Carl, you've got 3 things to report on.
Yeah. Okay, GRF M&C. A special meeting of the GRF M&C Committee was held on January 13th. The meeting was held to address the formation of a Clubhouse One Assessment Task Force and an associated draft of the task force charter, and also discuss and designate the 2020 GRF project priorities to possibly reallocate some funding. At that meeting, we were able to conclude that we could defund some projects for a total price tag of approximately $2.35 million. It was thought that these funds could be better used for other projects that had more importance, like the Performing Arts Center that is currently estimated to be at least $1.2 million over budget. One of the things that the M&C Committee did defund was the $500,000 that was allocated for the modifications to the golf driving range. There are 4 people on that committee that are from the mutuals, 2 from United and 2 from Third. However, we had a unanimous vote to do this defunding for all of these particular things that added up to $2.35 million. However, one of the things that the M&C Committee defunded was the $500,000 that was allocated for modification of the golf driving range. Unfortunately, at the GRF board meeting, 6 people on the GRF board ignored the work of the M&C Committee and reallocated the funding for this project for a grand total of $518,000. The next GRF M&C meeting is scheduled for tomorrow morning at 9:30 a.m. in this boardroom. All residents are invited. PAC, Performing Arts Center Ad Hoc Committee held its last meeting on November 20th. At that meeting, we discussed the estimate that has been developed for the renovation that is planned for that building. Unfortunately, the current estimate exceeds the current budget by over $1 million, as I just mentioned. And if this is voted to go forward with the work, an additional appropriation will need to be voted on and obtained. As a result, this director took issue with this and asked that the planned tasks be reassessed. As a result, since then, the 3 members of the ad hoc committee, 1 each from United and Third, including the chair and myself, have had discussions with the design engineer and VMS staff personnel to see where we could come up with cost savings in the base price of the design. This will still be reviewed, however, in the meantime, we will be going out for bids for the base project so that it could be started this year. That's the current planning right now. But we're still looking to cut costs. With regard to the Energy Task Force, a meeting was held on January 10th, and we had a full agenda that took over 4 hours to complete. As I reported at our last board meeting, the Energy Task Force elected Bert Moldow as the new chairman of the task force. At the next meeting, among other topics, we will be discussing the potential for using solar power in other areas within the community. This is just a potential. We are not doing anything. We're just going to look into it. The next meeting is scheduled for March 4th at 1:30 p.m. in the boardroom. All residents are invited. Please come and get involved. Thank you.
Okay, Juanita, Media and Communication.
The Media Communication Committee met on Wednesday, January 22nd, here in the boardroom. And basically, a good part of the meeting was an explanation and talk about the new Village Breeze magazine. And we've already discussed that quite a bit this morning, so I won't go into a lot of details. We also talked, Director Apollon also talked about the Village Management Services mission and broadband and contracts, which are now under her direction. And we did have member comments and residents who were unhappy still because of the 2 sports channels that were not continued this year. And so a lot of time was spent going over the numbers as to why that was happening and what some of the ways they could get the sports channels over. And so with technology changing all the time, we need to have a 5-10-year forecast of how we think that's going to affect our broadband services, our cable services. So that was approved. And we still have one marketing agenda that we're looking at for our next meeting, which will be on February 19th. And that is a little subcommittee that was, or ad hoc committee that was put together to look at marketing the village. And that concludes my report.
Okay. Elsie, would you give us the Mobility and Vehicles Committee report, please?
Yes, Madam Chair. The meeting was held on February the 5th, 2020. The Director of Transportation gave an update on the first 2 weeks of the new bus routes. For the fixed route buses, there is some tweaking in progress, but they are working well with the new half-hour routes. Fixed route buses in 2019 provided an average of over 500 residents with over 95,000 trips to clubhouses, medical appointments, and commercial locations. As of January the 20th, Saturdays are now covered by fixed route buses as well as Monday through Friday. The old Plan a Ride has been replaced with Boost, an agreement with Lyft, the ride-sharing provider, which is available from 8 to 9 and after 5 in the evening, Monday through Saturday, and all day Sunday. The new Journey system for vetted passengers with special needs prioritizes residents with medical appointments. The committee approved a proposed Americans with Disability Act compliance policy to aid with future federal grants for transportation-related purchases. The next meeting is Wednesday, April 1st, 2020 at 1:30. Thank you.
Thank you. Nada, would you give us the report on security and community access?
Sure. Security and Community Access Committee was held on Monday, January 20, 2020. The member comment is Monica Hobson, 3300B wanted to thank Chief Moy for all he has done. However, she stated that there is still an unresolved issue. Someone has an expired ID card and is still gaining access to the community. Chief Moy responded to Ms. Hobson and explained that gate ambassadors cannot stop individual guests to investigate them, as they have to maintain the flow of traffic into the community. However, he does encourage them to check when there is downtime. Report on January 2020 Gate Access Update. Chief Moy updated the Committee on Gate Access Project. He explained that Ernesto, Maintenance and Construction Director, gave an update that gate access for Gate 11 has an estimated start of June 2020. And Chief Moy explained there have been mechanical glitches at the few gatehouse, causing the arms to remain in the up position. He stated that he's working closely with Chuck Holland, Chief Information Officer, regarding those issues. However, he explained that the gate arms have been a huge success and are a great deterrent. He also said that video footage taken from the cameras have helped our collaboration with sheriff investigations. The committee commented and asked questions. Disaster Preparedness Task Force report. Chief Moy reported that the Disaster Preparedness Task Force office has moved. It is now located inside the Laguna Woods Globe office, as they are sharing the space. This move is beneficial for the DPTF, as the Globe is open 8 hours a day, so anyone that walks in can see the flyers and can ask questions. The hours of operation for the office has changed as well to Monday, Wednesday, Friday from 10 a.m. to noon. RV update. Chief Moy informed the committee that automated gates are being replaced at RV Lot B. He explained that with the new gate, residents will be able to use their resident ID cards like they do for RV Lot A. The security statistics, Chief Moy reported on the statistics for the security department that includes foot patrol, notice of violations, crime, traffic collision, RV lot, social services, and the compliance division. Chief Moy went through each report and explained certain statistics to the committee. The item that we had for discussion and consideration, DPTF clubhouse antennas. Chief Moy introduced Bruce Bonbright, radio officer for the DPTF, who presented the DPTF clubhouse antenna. Director Skillman made a motion to approve that DPTF clubhouse antenna, and Director Parsons seconded the motion. And I can say that the next meeting is scheduled for Monday, February 24th at 1:30 p.m. in the Laguna Wood Village Community Center boardroom. Thank you.
Cash, I believe half your report's been given, so please give what you have left.
But there's somebody ahead of me.
Oh, I'm sorry. Elsie, would you give us the traffic report?
Not a problem. I'm just so quiet over here like a little mouse. The committee met on January 15th, 2020. 7 members showed up for their hearings, and 1 that was scheduled didn't show up. 3 people wrote letters. Most frequent offenses, a 3-way tie between parking on the sidewalk, invalid decals, and running stop signs, with parking too far away from the curb coming in second. 11 out of 11 were found guilty this time, with 4 receiving no fine in spite of being found guilty. The next hearing committee will be held on February 19th, 2020.
Thank you. All right, you're up, Cash.
For starters, half my report has been given, so what I'm going to do is a little different. I want everybody to stand up. Everybody, stand up. And say we are all prepared for disaster. If there is a disaster, we are ready. And now you can sit down. Thank you. The security department is soon to have a new chief because our favorite leader is going closer to work, to his home. And he has more power. He has done a good job for us, and he will do the same good job for somebody else. Thank him. We thank him for being here. Also, the radio communication, he has established for us 15 out of 17 radios had a check, and they were all working. One had a battery problem, and one was out of town. So everybody is on the ball all the time. Considerable number of residents are without internet, about 2,700 of them, and our CEO already mentioned about it, but we have to give special thanks to Ms. Pollen, who is the Communication Marketing Director, for organizing all this without any cost to our village. And that magazine is really going to be a source of information for everything that happens in the village, and it's going to consolidate a lot of information. Also, let me also say that there are many training and information sessions conducted by DPTF, or Disaster Preparedness. Please attend them and make sure you have you're ready for a disaster, you have some drinking water supplies, and you have some food for at least 3 days in case of emergency. Also, try to have a white water hose, because you can use the water from your water heater to drink, but the regular hoses, you're not supposed to drink because they could be carcinogenic. So it's a good idea to spend $6 at Home Depot to get that pipe and have it ready. And there's a lot of water in the water heaters. So let's all anticipate and get over any disaster. Hopefully we won't have any disaster, but that guy in the sky doesn't differentiate. He makes sure everybody gets share of something. So be ready. Thank you. That's all I have. Next meeting is, we meet bi-monthly, once every other month. The next meeting is on March 31st, right here in the boardroom at 9:30 a.m. Thanks.
Okay, we're going to go to director's comments. Since we're ahead of time, Eileen has asked us to meet in the Willow Room after this meeting for a 5-minute discussion on the television and media. So let's go ahead for director's comments. I'll start over here with Neda.
Thank you, madam. I don't have any comment.
Reza?
Well, I
Ash?
would like to commend Eileen for doing such a great job and putting together the magazine. She has left, but I would like to say thank you.
Manuel?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Couple things I want to mention, and I'm trying to make it fast because we're doing so well on time. One, I want to commend Cash for a couple of things. One, he spearheaded the resurrection of the handyman program, and although I had some concerns about it, I know that a lot of the members need it and want it, and I hope it's successful. So the other thing is, I believe he's president of the India Club, or has been, and he's very active with that club. And again, that's a fine gesture that that club is offering to help neighbors with some of their needs. The other comment I'd like to make relates to the M&C committee and the report that Carl rendered. I have attended a number of meetings at GRF having to do with the carryover of reserve funds that haven't been utilized. And it seemed like it just kept falling on deaf ears, but I'm pleased to hear Carl report, and also when I looked at the last GRF board meeting, that they did release a considerable amount of funds that will be available now. One of the items I want to specify, because I was totally against this when I found out about it, was the relocation of a communication center up to the third floor, and that space had been vacant for well over a year or longer. I don't know what's going to be done with that space, but I think that this board needs to voice our opinions to GRF on what is done with that space. Main reason I was against the relocation of the community center, the communications center, was that it was going to create a traffic problem and a parking problem. So recognize whatever we do, we have to consider that. So it's very important. So again, that was good news that Carl reported on that. And I also want to state that I believe our board now is functioning in a very efficient and positive manner. So Sue, I think you're doing a great job. Thank you.
Thank you. Andre?
I would like to follow up. I also think that our new focus of this board is really making a difference at this point. And I want to remind people that improvements are changes. I want to say it again, improvements are changes. So let's not shy away from changes. As long as the big direction is correct, big direction is solving the big problems, let's work on that. We may not have the right solution the first time, but consistently we will make it better if we make changes. And also, VMS has mentioned that I know they are focusing on the KPIs. I hope that we can discuss about it, how each committee come up with KPIs that they can help us observe how this community is doing and how can we do a better job for the community. So, hopefully each committee can provide us the KPIs, key performance indicators that helping us see where the problem is, how do we solve it, which one is more important than the others. Thank you very much.
Carl?
If we get finished by 5 after 11, is that a new record? I just want to comment on the new magazine, whatever you call it, okay, that's going to be coming out. Thank you. The Breeze, okay. Thank you. I think it's a very good thing that we're going to be doing. I just want to remind everybody out there that when you get it and you read it, don't just pitch it, because it's supposed to have a month's worth of information in there, okay? So hold on to it, because it may come in handy if you want to find out when certain things are scheduled or what have you. Just don't pitch it, because a lot of people just get a piece of paper and they just throw it in the trash. So it will be informative, not only by the articles, but by the information about things when they're happening and why they're happening and what have you. So that's all I have to say.
Juanita?
I would just like to express a concern with the new village visits. Please try to schedule them when they are not opposite a committee meeting. This one that's coming up on the 12th is opposite the GRF M&C meeting, and at that meeting is where we're going to be presented with the new plans for Clubhouse 1. And a lot of people are going to want to see that, and so it's kind of torn between two. I hope that we be able to find dates that don't conflict with one of our major committee meetings.
Brian?
Maybe it's just an echo of what Juanita said. I just want to encourage our membership to get involved. A lot of information's on the internet. Please go out, look at it, come to the meetings, and participate. Thank you.
Tony?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have a question. I'd like to know this president's, vice president's thing is who's paying for the computer time and staff time? Is that coming out of United Budget? Thank you.
There is no there is no secretarial staff at that meeting. Elsie?
Nothing, ma'am.
Thank you very much. I am going to recess this meeting at 10:59, and thank you, everybody.
Save that minute.